So let's create a new cube and let's add an emissive material to it. Let's make it nice and blue and increase the intensity. And let's resize it to make it look kinda like a portal. Let's rename it to portal and let's add a new empty inside of it called destination. Now let's set our portals collider to trigger and let's also add a script to it called also portal. In this portal script, we're going to add a new field to hold the destination's transform. And let's drag our destination object to that field in the inspector. And to be able to see the destination easier, on Draw Gizmos, we're going to draw a small sphere around it and also a ray to know what direction it's pointing. Let's take this empty object and put it, for example, right here on this roof. This is where the player will be teleported. The teleport logic itself is going to be on our player script. And by the way, if you want to know how we made the player controller itself, in case you missed it, you can check out the first video in this series. It's pretty straightforward and it's only 6 minutes long. Now, the teleport function is going to be pretty simple. It takes the desired position and assigns it to the player's position. And it also takes the rotation as a quaternion, and it takes Euler angles from it and assigns them to our look vector. And then we're also resetting player's velocity. After we set the player's position, we also need to make a call to physics sync transforms, because the player's position is currently being controlled by the character controller component, because it updates the position each frame and it will just overwrite our new position with whatever it thinks is the right one. So with this call, we're telling it that something has changed and that it should take notice. Now in our portal script, on trigger enter, we're going to check if we are colliding with the player. And we're going to check that this game object with the player tag actually has a player script on it. And if that's the case, we're going to call the teleport method on that player script. As you can see, we're asking it to teleport us to where the destination is. Now I can hit play and see that it's actually teleporting us to the correct position. And of course, it also sets the player's rotation to the destination's rotation. So this is all working just fine. And of course, we can convert the portal into a prefab by dragging it onto the project panel. And then we can duplicate it with Ctrl D, and we can put it into some other location. And let's put its destination empty, for example, on this roof over here. And now if we go through this portal, we go on that roof. And if we go through our first portal, we get on that first roof. Now, if we fall off the map, we will just keep falling indefinitely. And there's always a possibility of that happening, no matter how good your controller is or how good your level design is. So it's a good idea to account for that. Luckily, it's going to be very easy to do now that we have our teleport method. Let's add a new float called world bottom boundary. If the player falls more than 100 meters, we're going to consider the player out of bounds, and we're going to teleport back to the initial position. So let's make a new private variable of type tuple that's going to hold the initial position and rotation. And on start, let's set it to our initial position and rotation. On update, we're going to call the checkBounds method. And in this method, we'll just check if the current position y is less than the world bottom boundary. And if it is, we'll just teleport back to the initial position. And if we try that again, we'll just fall for 100 meters, and then we'll end up where we started.